Pure Extract Technologies, ticker PULL on the CSE, is a young and very interesting company operating in the sectors of cannabis, hemp, functional mushrooms, and in the future, the company is also working on expanding into the booming sector of psychedelics. We're talking to CEO Ben Nikolaevsky today to hear more and talk about his plans for the future for Pure Extracts. Welcome, Ben.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Ben, as this is our first interview, please give us some background about yourself. Tell us about your expertise in the industry, please.
Sure, happy to. So Ben Nikolaevsky, CEO of Pure Extracts. Previously, I was a CEO of a company called Natura Natural. It was a large-scale cultivator in the cannabis space, over 700,000 square feet of glass. We sold to Tilray in February 19. So a couple of years ago, we had a very successful exit. Before that, I ran a organic food company. We produced chicken, fish, and beef in the organic space, so CPG business. We took that from $3 million to $175 million in sales before we exited. And then previously to that, I was actually on the dark side. I was an investment banker working for CIBC in the agricultural and fintech space. So, and then before that, I worked at IBM as their chief credit officer of the company and ran their capital markets department on a worldwide basis.
Okay, so you know your way around the business from the dark side to the light side, and we'll see how this plays out for Pure Extracts. As the name says of the company, it's an extraction company focused on cannabis, hemp, functional mushrooms, and in the future psychedelics. Why the focus on extraction, though?
Well, when you look at the business, we classify ourselves as a plant-based extractor, and extraction, allows you to, formulate and, bring the best properties of a plant out. So being in a cannabis or hemp space, you can extract the purities out and leave the impurities or what you don't need behind, and then use that in the formulation of wellness products, different balanced products in THC and CBD. And the same goes for functional mushrooms and ultimately psilocybin for psychedelics. You're able to formulate and not just take the base product being the cannabis plant or the mushroom plant and mix a formulation that has multiple benefits. And that's really why the extraction business is so exciting.
And I guess if you're not using the base material, you also potentially can achieve higher margins, perhaps. Is that a reason?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So we've seen, you definitely get better margins when you touch the product. The more you manufacture it, the higher margin you can receive. And we're in a perfect storm right now because of the inputs. The cost of hemp and cannabis in Canada has fallen so dramatically. Our inputs have fallen, very dramatically from a cost base. We're buying product in that 30 cents a gram area for cannabis, where it used to be over $1, but the retail price of the product has not fallen as dramatically. So our margins are very healthy.
Well, that's good to hear. So let's start with the cannabis side of things then, of the Pure Extract business, because recently you have been making great strides there. Just today, you put out a very interesting press release with the nice German angle to it also. So please give us an overview of what you achieved so far.
Sure. So Pure Extracts is an extractor. We deal in 3 lines of business. One is tolling, where we take in other LPs' product and we run it through our extractors and return a bulk oil perspective, and we can do it winterized, non-winterized, but it's not our product. We're running it for another LP. We are doing that today for a couple of the LPs we've just started. We've made some public announcements about our first, retail sales of those products. The next is white labeling, and white labeling is making product for other LPs. The mid-size LPs have went through an inflection point where, at first everybody wanted to do everything. They thought they were masters of everything. Obviously not the best model. They've come to people like us now that say, will you manufacture my vape cartridges? Will you make my tincture or gummy programs? And we're contracting with a couple of the larger LPs right now to do their vape programs, because we're an expert in producing oil and vape cartridges, and we label it with their name on it, and they sell it off to retail. The third part and the biggest part of our business is our branded products. So Pure Pulls, Pure Chews, our gummy programs and tinctures. We produce that product for the provincial entities, and then ultimately it's sold off to the retail and consumer. And we have a host of different products. Our vape cartridges came from the legacy area, so our formulations are pretty tried and true. We're selling 40,000 cartridges on the gray market previously. So the consumer really likes the product. We know which one sells. We produce in full spectrum, which is fairly new in Canada. From an oil perspective, a lot of our competitors sell in distillate, which doesn't have the same profile from a customer experience. And the provinces really like that we do full spectrum. So that is a big revenue source for us coming in April, when the provinces start ordering our products to sell to the consumers. And also we produce a chew, a gummy, in a couple of different varieties, both CBD and THC based. We signed a deal with a company called Fireball. I'm sure it's a little popular in Europe also, the alcohol brand. They have a THC brand in the United States. We licensed the technology and the formulations to sell them both in Canada and on a worldwide basis, because Canada is able to export fairly easily to most countries. And the packaging in those gummies is proprietary. If you think about the way you use a blister pack for your medication and they pop out, that's the same way that we package the gummies. It's completely different than anybody else in the market. And in Canada and in the US, the temperature differentials of the temperature going up and down with gelatin and non-gelatin based product, they clump together when they're in that bag or in that jar, and then they have a dosing problem. So the provincial entities were very excited when we showed them the package, because they're getting a host of returns saying, especially in the summer, I bought these gummies, they were supposed to be 2.5 milligrams each. They're stuck together. I don't know if I'm getting 1.5 or 4.5, right? So it's a big issue for them. And our product solves that issue. So we're super excited about that, and that'll be a great revenue source for us.
Okay. And just a quick overview, what are your projections for revenue, let's say, for this year from that side of things, and or what can you say in that regard now?
Sure. So we haven't given any revenue guidance because our provincial orders are coming in now as we speak. The orders are very robust. So a provincial order initial load in is somewhere in the neighborhood of 250 to 500,000 initial load in, and then every month thereafter, it's about the same. So pretty robust from the revenue side, and that's just 2 provinces would order like that, and then the other provinces, Ontario is the biggest province that will come on in May. They'll be as big or bigger from that perspective. So, and that's just our branded Pure Pulls product load in. We do our oil production and our white labeling program. Our white labeling program, most of the orders are in that $250,000 a month run rate business. That's kind of the average. There's some smaller for sure, but that's the average in the white label business. So going into the end of the second quarter, revenue is definitely, we're turning revenue now as the provincial entities start placing their POs in the next month or so. That's when we really rev up from a revenue perspective.
Yeah, we've got great things to look forward to. So what about the rest of the year? What or the future? What are your plans for expansion then in the cannabis space? What are you working on next?
Yeah, we're developing some exciting new products. We're innovators. We were one of the first people to use CO2 extraction when the gray market came out. So we like to be on the cutting edge. Our science guys are developing some new innovative products that'll hit the market late in the year that haven't been sold in Canada before. We're working through some Health Canada stuff to get that on market. Our CBD gummy program will be the highest CBD available on the market in a gummy format, which is becoming super popular for wellness in Canada. So that's going to be a new product that hits the shelves. And you'll see, we're working through some other partnerships with some other vendors in the beverage space. So like 5-hour energy shot, we're developing with a partner with some nano emulsion technology that we're working through, that we hope that we can launch at the end of the year. So we're gonna have a host of new products hitting the shelves. We registered, I don't want to get the number wrong, 30 plus products with the Federal Health Canada for approval for sale in Canada. And that was a release we did a couple of weeks ago. So we have a host of products that will hit the shelves, over the next few months.
Okay, well, sounds exciting. And that's just one side of things, because you're also active in the area of functional mushrooms. Well, perhaps some listeners or some viewers might not be too familiar with that. Please just give us an overview. What is it and what's the market opportunity there?
Absolutely. So functional mushrooms, I kind of equate to CBD a few years ago. CBD was, brought to market, and it ended up going in a host of different products. Functional mushrooms have very similar attributes in wellness. They've been used in Chinese medicine, as you know, for several hundred years. They're now coming to light as a super food to help with a host of different ailments, from stress, from immunity support. And we really saw an opening and a disruption in the market that we could take advantage of, because the product has not changed from its current format of powderized, capsulized product. There was nobody really out there on a scale that was formulating it from an extraction perspective, taking out the impurities, letting you be able to trace whatever pesticides and whatnot were used on the production of that, and extracting the bad out, and then adding formulations. We're in development with Purica, which is the largest functional mushroom company in Canada, to develop a CBD functional mushroom product. So it's an area that's growing by leaps and bounds. It's Amazon's fastest growing SKU in the nutraceutical area. We're listing on Amazon. We should be available on Amazon.com in April for a functional. The product's been ordered, so we should be on shelf with some of our new products over the next few weeks.
Okay, exciting stuff. So what kind of products are these then? And you're telling me you're selling them through Amazon, probably. Do you have your own website, through your own website, or how is that the sales side of things going to happen?
Absolutely. So we set up an Amazon store. It's very effective from our perspective. So we ship the product to Amazon's warehouse, and they do our fulfillment and back end from that perspective. So we'll promote it through the approved channels in Canada for distribution. It'll go through Instagram, Facebook, and then linked ultimately to the Amazon backend that will fulfill the products. It will be a reishi, a multi Alliance main type product that'll be available at first. It'll be 3 different SKUs. It'll be the 3 different SKUs will be available, and then as time goes on, the other SKUs will follow. We have 3 other SKUs that are in development that should come, later on in the year under the Pure Mushroom brand. So it's quite exciting area for us. It's growing in leaps and bounds, and our R&D guys, love greenfield space where they can dream up new and funky stuff. So they're having a great time with that, and the space is just blowing up. If you look at your Instagram, I'm sure it's similar in Germany as it is in North America. There's functional mushrooms being put in everything, and some of it I would say is great, some of it not so much, but there's definitely a view of functional mushrooms. They're safe. They've been around for a long time. As long as they are grown in a proper manner, there's really massive health benefits for that product. And if you take it one step further, what we're doing from an extraction and a formulation perspective, we're taking out all the good and adding in, taking out all the bad and leaving the good, and then adding in different profiles from other CBD or other tropicals that can give a greater health benefit. So we're super excited about that product.
Okay, great to hear. It's sort of an extension that we're going to talk about next of that business, of the mushroom business, is your foray into the area of psychedelics, which is also a super hot sector at the moment, but it's even more heavily regulated than cannabis and or functional mushrooms, of course. So you have your work to do there. Just briefly tell us about your efforts and your plans and what you aim to achieve there.
Sure. So the psychedelics is a wonderful area. It was a shame that in the 60s and 70s the governments squashed the research and development of this product. When we looked at psychedelics, our founder and COO Doug Benbow back in the day had some experience with psychedelics and extracting the product, obviously on the gray market, and for his own personal use. So we had a real insight of what good this product could do for people. So when we had the opportunity to enter the space, our knowledge of extraction and how to work with plant-based products was a natural foray into the psychedelic area. So when I looked at the market, I found that there's a lot of great companies doing a lot of great research on how they either administer the product or the clinics they're setting up. The one thing that I and the board deemed was missing in the market was the product that is being put out today. The treatment times are extremely long. So right now, if you go in for psilocybin treatment in psychedelics, the average clinic visit is 8 hours. And the majority of the population can't take 8 hours out of their day for a medical treatment. It's just too long. And the clinics on the other side have to charge so much because of the administration. You have to have people monitoring them and bringing them in and out of the hallucinogenic part of psychedelics. You really have a hard time making money at the clinic model. Although it's very beneficial, you can't process enough people or charge enough to be able to make this a commercially viable business. And our thinking was, if we can shorten that time period, one of getting the people into the state of having their mind open to help them change, and two, get them out the door back to their regular lives quicker. So when we looked at a product, we're developing a nasal gel through our partner Transpharma to give faster onset of product and faster tailing. So you can do a procedure we're targeting 3 hours, right? You can come in, you can have your session with the doctor, you can have the psychedelic benefit, and then come out of it in 3 hours or less and go back to work and go back to your family, versus an 8-hour stint where the doctors really can't see that many patients, right, from an administration perspective. So when we looked at the market, the R&D around how they can administer it and what the procedures are is something that we take our hats off to a lot of these large companies. Where we think the market is short is nobody really looks at the commercialization of this product, of how to make money at it. And if the doctors can't sustain their clinics, they're not going to administer it, right? They have to be able to make money at it. So we're looking at, how do we shorten the window? How do we have the patient have the best experience with the least amount of disruption of their day-to-day lives? And that's where I found that psilocybin research was short. So our clinicals are going on right now in that area to get a nasal gel that will bypass the brain membrane very quickly and allow that psychedelic trip, for lack of a better word, to start earlier.
Okay, well, very interesting. Well, we'll see how that goes, and when you get all the necessary licenses and approvals, certainly something we're looking forward to see. Now, you've been making great strides, undoubtedly. Maybe seen you in the cannabis space and the functional mushroom space. Revenues are coming in, and no projects coming out. Still, the stock has been going sideways to down for the last couple of weeks. So do you think now would be a good time for people to take a closer look at your company?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, we haven't been tagged as a true psychedelic or mushroom company. I don't think a lot of people know that, our company does that. So there is definitely, a good upside for investors to be able to safeguard their capital within Pure. I look at it as twofold. Our cannabis and hemp business will throw off revenue and profitability, without question. That's something that, that's our core business. The functional mushrooms are now starting. They're listed on Amazon. There's real revenue from those coming, into 2021 into the second and early third quarter. And having exposure to the psychedelics and doing this R&D, I think we're highly undervalued. I think, we've done a good story to tell our extraction story on the hemp and cannabis side. I don't think a lot of the investors knew that we do functional mushrooms and we're doing this R&D in the psilocybin area, and that's why we're such a bargain today, for lack of a better word, on the market.
Okay, thank you very much for this interesting information, and also for taking the time. We're looking forward to talking to you in the future when one or the other initiative comes to fruit. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate it.